We're now at the stage where we've levelled the top, so that's nice and flush with the top of the wood there. Can't feel any difference between the height. We've done the sides so that it just feels like a natural extension of the neck wood. There's a little bit of tidying up to do. Just need to make these edges and the little burrs of plastic that have appeared just nice and tidy and gone. The next stage will be putting the top piece on. Here's the top piece that we've got. When I look at this straight from the bag, there's a tiny little bit of sharp plastic here, and that's like a little moulding tab where the thing's been made. We'll just actually take that off with either a fine craft knife or a little bit of sandpaper or even a file. So we're going to take that off with a file and just a few strokes across. Should be enough to get rid of that little burr of plastic. Okay, now that's going to actually go on the top here. I might go in with a little drill, a very, very fine drill, just to clean out any debris from the holes. And that will screw on nicely to screws. One final thing we'll probably need to address is that this top piece is very slightly wider than the neck that we're going on here. So we're probably going to have to just remove a tiny little bit of plastic from either end and just smooth that in so it's fairly seamless, and then you'll actually have a nice top piece fitted. Obviously on this one we're still going to have to cut the string slots in the right spacing, but we'll copy that from the old nut and we should be good to go. Right, now while we're off camera, we've got the frets in the guitar, so we're all ready to start putting the top piece on the nut. I've got the top piece here. This one, because it's the 1 3/4, is unslotted, so we're going to be putting some slots in this in a while. We've got the little screws here, and we've got a screwdriver to fit it on with. Now, this screwdriver is a Phillips 00 size, so it's got a very, very small top, but it's a Phillips rather than a posi drive, and it's a perfect fit for these tiny little screws, which are probably too small to focus on properly on camera, but the head in those is matched the screwdriver. It's quite important that you get the right screwdriver for the job, because the screws are a bit unforgiving if you try to go at them with too big a screwdriver. Now the nut just slides nicely in place here, and the screws go in from the top and fit in the holes. When we put the base unit in, you'll probably remember us saying earlier, we put it in so the holes in it were actually nearest the fingerboard because they're slightly off centre. Now we can put the top piece on and put the screws in. Sometimes it's actually worth just very carefully using the screw to tap the thread in the hole before you try to fit the piece. So we might go very gently and put a screw in, just working it in and then back out again without too much force, just so that there's a natural thread going on in here. We'll take that same screw and we'll do the same process for each of the three. Just makes life a little bit easier when we come to actually put it on. So I'm just screwing that in all nice and easy, and back it out again. And we'll do the third one. Now obviously if you feel any kind of resistance to the screwing in process, do stop, don't just force it, because if there's some kind of obstruction, or there might be a blockage of glue that's come up from when you glued the base in one of the holes, you might just need to clean that out. Now you can take a very, very fine drill bit, and I'll check on the size for you in a second, just to go down and make sure those holes are properly clean of anything that will stop the screws going in neatly. Okay, I've gone and got my special drill bits that I use for this job, and they're Earvana drills as I call them, and you can see the sizes are 1.25, and I've also got some 1.3 millimeters. So I take one of these little drills out, and they are very, very fine. They're just the right size to go in the hole. Now on one of these we were just finding it a little bit difficult going, so we're just going to go with a little drill and clean out any debris. Now this is actually small enough, this 1.25, that it doesn't actually spoil the thread that I was just putting in. Okay, we've just actually carefully drilled with the 1.25mm drill bit, which is very, very fine, so be careful with it because they're easy to break. And that's approximately, if you're thinking in American terms, the equivalent of 50,000ths of an inch, which is pretty small. So okay, we've cleaned out the holes, and now it's time to just make sure all the screws fit in neatly. We've already got 2 in place. Here's the third one. And yes, that's made life a lot easier. Yes, I'm very happy with that. So I'll just extract those now. If you do a lot of work on guitars, very nice precision screwdrivers are a great thing to have. Okay, those have come out now, and in we go with the screws. Okay, we've screwed the top piece on now. Now, the top piece is actually still slightly too long. We're going to have to do a little bit of trimming on this. Let me see if I can give you a close-up. Okay, here we are. I've tipped the guitar up so you can actually see from the underside. You can see I'm approaching it with my finger. There's a little piece sticking out over the side. We're going to just have to trim that flush. Okay, that's one of our next jobs to do. Here we've tipped the guitar up on its side. We've put a clamp on the body again to hold it nice and steady so it's not going to wobble around on us. This point here is where we're going to file away a little. We've reached for the same files that we were using earlier, the single cut triangular files, much bigger than like a needle file but still a really good size. We're going to use the magic tape again for a bit of protection, and just like we did before, we're going to reduce the stick and this time we're just quickly bringing the side of this down to the side of the plastic. Right, just started to hit the tape here, so we're getting there, but if I go with my finger I can feel an edge there. I just need to carefully get that neatly blended in. Getting this to size first, as we've got to cut the slots on the top, is just going to help just get the right sizing to begin with, so we can do all our careful calculations. Now the other thing we'll do is we'll come back in here and eventually we'll round that top edge just to make it a little bit more comfortable for your hand. But now we're going to flip the guitar over and do the other side.